everybody, and welcome back to the KK Zone. As always, I am Kara Kaufman, your host, from a rainy Wednesday afternoon in New York City. If you hear raindrops falling on my air conditioner in the background, apologies. It's not a very baseball-y atmosphere, but that's what we got. Seems appropriate. We've got just over a week left until regular games start in the Bronx, so get the rain out now, nature. Rain every day from now until then if you must, but I want opening day to be gorgeous without a drop in sight. Fingers crossed. I also want to point out before I start, when I'm wearing my shirt today, so you can see it a little better, this is the Savages in the Box shirt from RotoWear. I'm not getting paid by RotoWear for this, I love their stuff. I think it's really fun. This shirt is from the 2019 infamous Boone Rant, the one where he got ejected from the game, and in an attempt to truly get his money's worth before leaving, he was on the umpire about how the strike zone that he was calling was completely wrong. His guys know the strike zone. They are savages in the box. There might have been some profanities in there too, but they didn't make it onto most of the articles about the event, nor onto this shirt. Just Savages Box, plain and simple. We love. Looking forward to more Savages in the Box coming up very soon in Yankee Stadium. So, on to the spring training news. I use the word news loosely, of course, because I think what I provide here is more of a color commentary than a play-by-play, as it were. So, I was able to catch a good chunk of the Yankees game on Tuesday against the Tigers, and I have three main takeaways from that. First of all, the Yankees were doing a very un-Yankee-like thing, which is being extremely aggressive on the base paths. In general, for the Yanks, and you have guys who can power a ball out of the park any given moment, you prefer not to make too many outs ahead of those guys on the bases. For example, if DJ LeMahieu makes his way onto base, he's probably not going to want to get caught stealing second the pitch before Aaron Judge knocks a homer. I mean, it's a bad example because DJ, not really a stealing guy to begin with, but the point remains that is one of the reasons you don't often see the Yankees steal a lot of bases. They also have a lot of guys who just are not base stealers. They might be fast, but they don't have that kind of quick twitch quickness that it requires to get to second base. But in any event, Tuesday's game for the Yanks was not really the A lineup. There were not a ton of guys I would expect to see opening day. But the guys that were there decided to use their wheels. That's always fun to watch. I'm not totally sure whether that was from the bench, let's make them throw it today, let's practice stealing bases, or whether guys just wanted to show an extra gear in their last push towards trying to make the roster. In either case, they ran a lot, and the results, my friends, they were not pretty. The Yankees did manage to steal one base. They also got caught stealing 3 times and got picked off once. That is just bad. There's nothing really good about that. In his defense, I will say, Tyler Wade's attempt to steal third, unsuccessful though it was, looked like in the replay he actually might have been safe, and in the regular season you could challenge that and have that overturned. In spring training, no challenge, nor should there be. Do not make these games any longer than they already are. But the other steals generally did not look very comfortable. So, remains to be seen whether that was just kind of a product of players taking initiative or whether the Yankees are really testing out their bench personnel and seeing whether late game pinch running replacements might actually have the green light to run more. Something to watch remains to be seen. My second thought on this game is about Mike Talkman. He seems like he may or may not end up being the odd man out of the Yankees bench. I like Talkman. I mean, he came out of nowhere in 2019 and was really excellent for the Yankees. He's very, very good on defense in the outfield, and he hit pretty well that year too. And he's a lefty, which, as we've said many times, the Yankees definitely need lefties. That said, with Jay Bruce on the roster, I kind of sort of feel like the Yankees might choose to go with the proven veteran as opposed to the guy who, while he was great 2 years ago, was actively not good last year, and does seem a little redundant when you have Brett Gardner, also a lefty playing good defense, already on the roster. All that being said, Mike Talkman seems like he's sitting on the bubble right now, and we'll have to see which side of the bubble he rolls off onto. But in any event, he knows that. He's, in his interviews, been demonstrably sick of being asked about whether he'll make the team or not. He doesn't know, guys. He's just trying to, but he has no control over the outcome, other than his own performance. And Tuesday was one of his strongest games to date. He led off the game with a homer against one of the Tigers' young, really exciting pitching prospects, Tariq Skubal, who generally looked pretty good, but Talkman, lefty on lefty, smacked a homer. Good start for him. He also added a second hit and 2 walks. He did get caught in a really awkward rundown. He wasn't credited with being caught stealing, but because he was trying to steal second, Ryan Lamar on third broke for home, and it was Lamar who ended up getting caught, but all because Talkman made a rather ill-advised attempt to steal. But in any case, base running gaff aside, Talkman had one of his strongest games of the spring on Tuesday, and that was exciting to see, and for me, made it even a little more interesting to see which horse is going to edge ahead and cut through the tape first and make it onto the roster that goes north in just less than a week. I suspect we'll find out soon. My third observation from Tuesday's baseball game is about Corey Kluber. Corey Kluber will be in the rotation for the Yankees if he manages to stay healthy. Knock on all the wood in sight, please. And so far he's looked alright. But just as an example of exactly what spring training stats do and don't mean and the way different things can be interpreted, I give you two tweets. This first one is from Eno Saris, who was not that impressed with Corey Kluber's performance. As you can see here, Eno notes that his velocity is not super great, and also the thing that would make up for that, his great control, seems to be a little absent. Not a great picture there painted by Eno, but a totally fair take given what we've seen of him so far this spring. And then, in contrast, here's Eric Boland talking about how Kluber looks good stat-wise. I mean, if you look at these numbers, inherently they are good. We can see that the precision of his location isn't there, but the results mostly have been, even though his velocity is sitting a little lower than he'd probably tell you he likes. And he's not walking a ton of guys, but he's also not putting the ball quite where he wants it. In any event, looking at the same guy in the same span of time with the exact same information available, two pretty different conclusions. But of course, all of this is irrelevant because spring training means what? Nothing! We've seen guys have great springs and then be terrible during the year, and we've seen guys have terrible springs and make an immediate, incredible impact on the Major League club in the regular season. I'm hoping that this is just Kluber as a veteran, and also coming off an injury, getting his work in, getting himself back into fighting form, and that we'll see him, I know he's not going to be the be-all and end-all, he's not going to win the Cy Young, but if he can be even a decent percentage of what he was at his peak, I think he'll be a really nice weapon there for the Yanks in their rotation. So I am cautiously optimistic on Corey Kluber, but my main point here is just how interesting it is to see the same exact data interpreted two very different ways. So, Corey Kluber, we'll see. Next, you knew it was coming. You could hear the giant menacing footsteps from miles away, and here it is again, guys. It's the whiteboard of doom. Well, everyone, the good news is it's not 0 days since last workplace injury, but the bad news is this number was 7 before it went all the way down to 2. Womp womp. Our new additions here to this injured list are Justin Wilson, who went down on Monday with left shoulder tightness. They are saying that there is not anything to be too concerned about there. We'll see. And also, a day before him on Sunday, Asher Wojciechowski went down with a lat issue. That seems like it might be a little more persistent, so we're going to have to hope that perhaps he can make a recovery in the minors and be a depth piece later on this season. That has been your whiteboard update. Still looking to get this number up to double digits. Fingers crossed. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Not a lot to add there. We saw Wojciechowski come out of the game. He actually was pitching very effectively in that game and had to, unfortunately, leave with that lat tightness. The quote from Aaron Boone, which I'm going to read so I don't butcher it, was after the imaging, he said, "There are, quote, some problems in there with the lat." Nice and vague there, Booney, but also, as we could use a Girardiism right here, not what you want. In any case, as of today, Wojciechowski was optioned to the minor leagues, so I expect he will start the spring either, depending how bad the injury is, either rehabbing in Tampa or at the alternate site, ready to be called upon if needed. And the other thing we mentioned there, the other injury, is with Justin Wilson. We saw this happen in the game on Monday night. It was pretty rough. He came in, clearly lost a couple of miles per hour velocity on his fastball as compared to earlier spring training starts, and got blitzed. He didn't get anybody out, and in the middle of an at-bat, he called the trainer to come out of the dugout and came out of the game, pointing to his left pitching shoulder. That's generally really bad news. That being said, today they had the results of his imaging, and quote Aaron Boone, there is, quote, nothing actionable. So I guess that's not so bad. They say he's going to rest for a couple days, and they're giving him oral anti-inflammatories, and then he'll resume his throwing regimen in a few days. So basically, he's going to chill and take some Advil, which frankly is what I do whenever anything is hurting me, so I fully believe in this remedy. Advil cures everything, right? Right. In any event, we're not sure if Wilson will actually be ready for opening day or not, but at least considering he left a game pointing to his pitching shoulder in obvious pain, this is a much better outcome than I could have hoped for. So fingers crossed that Wilson can come back strong and quickly. Whether he makes the opening day roster or can just show up a couple weeks later, we would really love to have him for the majority of the season. We shall see. And now, I think the biggest theme for this week has been friendship. I've said before, I love when they're friends, and we got 2 different stories this week about how they're friends. This is my favorite. Thank you everybody for doing this wonderful, important, hard-hitting reporting on Yankee friendships. I want more, always more. The first one, posted by the Yankees official account itself on Twitter, was a video about new addition Jameson Taillon and how he got here. And he was obviously with the Pirates. The Yankees traded for him. A couple things stood out to me in this interview, which they talked to a couple of people. They had quotes from various Yankees personnel. One thing that Brian Cashman said that stood out to me was that the intangibles were off the charts for this guy. They do a lot of due diligence on how a guy is in the clubhouse, his makeup, all these things. You've heard lots of stories about how Aaron Judge was drafted partially because they were so impressed with his maturity and his level of self-awareness, and they just knew that he would be, from a mental and emotional standpoint, he'd be the best version of himself, which I think we've seen to be the case. And they said the same thing about Taillon. They said it was some of the most positive responses they've ever heard when inquiring about him as a guy. That you love to hear. And certainly, there is a second big fan of him in Garrett Cole. They said they talked to Garrett, of course, one of his oldest friends from back when they were both with Pittsburgh, and Garrett had a lot of the same positive things to say. The second thing I loved was they talked to his brother, Taillon's brother, who is a doctor, which is super cool, but B, a lifelong Yankees fan. So this guy just could not be happier his brother is now pitching for his favorite team. Imagine, how cool is that? Because I have no siblings, but if I did have a brother and he were pitching for a Major League Baseball team, I feel pretty obligated to root for that team. I mean, I root for the Yankees, obviously, but I root for my brother's team whenever that team was playing someone other than the Yankees. So how amazing must it feel to watch your brother, someone you love so deeply and have watched progress in his career and lived and died with every pitch, to then all of a sudden be wearing the Yankee pinstripes when the Yankee pinstripes have been something you've cheered for your entire life. To me, this is awesome. I really hope that Taillon has a long, successful Yankee career, both for his sake and for my sake and for the Yankees' sake, but maybe most of all for his brother's sake. That is really, really well done. And the last thing that stood out to me here was Garrett Cole. I already mentioned him, but they interviewed him for this. He said he was so excited when he found out that Taillon was acquired. He said basically someone had called him and told him the news, and I have to read here what he said. He said he wanted to call Taillon to talk about with him, to congratulate him, and he, quote, "After having a tequila or two, didn't need to think about it, just gave a call." Yeah, this is great. First of all, when it was publicly announced that Taillon was signed, Garrett Cole did actually post a photo of him and Taillon drinking some fine wine together, which we loved. So to me, this is just the enduring buddy comedy of 2 guys pitching on the same baseball team who are just testing out all the beverages together. We already know that Garrett Cole is a huge wine guy. We know Jameson Taillon is a huge coffee guy. Now there's tequila involved. So basically, I would watch this sitcom. Just the 2 of them talking about something different over different beverages. That's the concept. Someone make this show. Seems like it'd be really good. They could talk about pitching, but they could also just talk about life, art, the beverages they're drinking. Maybe they have a rating system for the coffees, the wines, and the tequilas. I don't know. There's something in there. Amongst all that chaff, there is definitely something beautiful to be made. I just really enjoyed Garrett Cole and Jameson Taillon's friendship. It was clear how excited they both were to be on the same team again after a couple years apart. So hoping that they spur each other to new heights, both in baseball achievement and in personal happiness, because we love when they're happy and we love when they're friends. And in the second I love when they're friends moment of this week, I have to thank Lindsay Adler at The Athletic. If you haven't read her stuff, you ought to. And if you haven't subscribed to The Athletic, you double ought to. It is a great source of all things, not just baseball, but they cover all sports. It's incredible. And Lindsay Adler is the Yankees beat writer on The Athletic, and she is marvelous. I love reading all of her stuff. She had a piece in there this week about Gleyber Torres. As a side note, I think maybe I should rename this the Glaber-Torres zone. I feel like I talk about him a lot every episode, but you know what? Hey, he's worth it. Anyway, this article was on Glaber-Torres and DJ LeMahieu, who we obviously also love, and their relationship, but specifically about Glaber-Torres, who apparently, after spending the first season of his Major League career, which was 2019, getting to know DJ LeMahieu, who was at that point a new Yankee as well, he said he spent that first season just trying to figure out his personality. Yeah, that makes sense. DJ is a closed book. That guy takes a while to figure out. But per Glaber, they have now become really close, and he looks at DJ like an older brother. They're the Yankees double play combination. They play shortstop and second base, so they have to work really closely together on the field in terms of getting their positioning and alignment and turning those awesome double plays that we love to see. And the fact that they've now become close off the field is a delight. There's some really lovely quotes in the article from DJ as well about how hard Glaber's been working and about how much talent he has and how he's excited to see it all come together. Yeah, we all are, DJ. We're really excited for that. And from Glaber, who apparently this spring came in and asked to be with DJ all the time. Which also is a super little brother thing to do. I mean, how often are you like just tagging along behind your big brother, just like bopping along and repeating everything he does? To me, this is perfect in terms of the way that Glaber has named this relationship as the brothers, but also as somebody who is known for having the absolute best preparation and most stringent work routine to get himself in perfect condition for the games. That's DJ. So if there's somebody that Glaber wants to emulate on the team, this is a good choice. And the fact that they play contiguous positions on the diamond makes it all the more relevant to his own work. So I'm loving everything about this. I didn't notice this until this article, but the Yankees in spring training don't play all the regulars in all the games, but DJ and Glaber have played together every single game. And there's no way to know this until this is reported in this article, when they aren't in games, they do their work on the backfield together too. So these two have been joined at the hip. I believe there was a quote from someone in the Yankees organization referring to them as joined at the hip. As long as that's not literal, because that would make it really hard to field two positions, this is great. And I will conclude by saying that what Glaber said about DJ, who, as I said, is a pretty quiet guy. A lot of guys go to him for advice, and he apparently dispenses it very tersely, which is great. Economy of words can be very helpful. But what Glaber said, and I'm going to read this quote, is that he asks him all the questions, and DJ is always very happy to help with anything he needs help with. But, quote, "Sometimes I don't ask too much, because maybe he feels tired of me." That describes how I feel about literally everyone. I'm always worried that people are tired of me. Glaber, you have taken the words out of my mouth, put them out there. How you feel about DJ and asking him questions, I feel about everyone in my life and asking them anything. So is there anything more relatable than being afraid to talk to someone too often in case they are quietly sick of you? Well, what I'm not sick of is this Glaber-DJ bromance. I am looking forward to watching this continue throughout the year and watching them turn many slick double plays together. We've seen some in spring training. We've seen DJ's obviously rock solid in the field. We've seen Glaber make some sparklers as well as he attempts to improve his defense. Overall, this story is amazing and firmly in the category of I love when they're friends. And the last item of business for today, I want to talk about my favorite photos from this week, because truly, what good is baseball Twitter if it doesn't provide images that make me personally smile and or laugh and or exclaim loudly, "I love that!" No good. So here are the ones that made me do that this week. These are all from the Yankees official Twitter account. This first one here is Tyler Wade talking on what I can only assume is a helmet phone. So that's the ear flap on the batting helmet that some guys have attached to prevent their pitcher side cheek from getting hit by a pitch. As Giancarlo Stanton can tell you, that is no fun when it happens. It can shatter your jaw. Awful. So adding extra protection makes complete sense, but I never thought until I saw this photo, it also just looks like there's a phone attached to your helmet. I'm sure we could find some good use for that. We've talked about possibly adding in communication devices so that we can avoid catchers and pitchers having to go through signs and instead have some way to speak. I don't know, but whatever this is, I'm not sure if it's just because it's Tyler Wade rocking it, but it looks cool. Let's find a way to have futuristic helmet phones and find some great use for them. Thank you very much. Next photo is Smile of the Week Award I just made that up, but I think I'm going to award it now, goes to Greg Allen. We haven't talked about him too much. He was a pickup in the offseason for the Yankees who basically was an extra outfielder who became redundant once they had Talkman and Gardner and Jay Bruce. So he actually did manage to pass through waivers, is still with the Yankees on now a minor league deal. So probably be in the minors this year, and hopefully we don't see him, because if we do, things have gone wrong. But until then, I love seeing him because look at this amazing smile. He just looks so happy. It makes me want to smile along with him. Also, just the way this shot is set up, the vastness of the sky and the grass, and this young man just having a blast playing baseball, I love. There was another smiling photo that is probably an even bigger, broader smile, but I'm not awarding it the award of Best Smile of the Week. Because here, look at this. This is Aroldis Chapman. I mean, he is grinning, and it is rare to see Chapman look like this. He always looks pretty tough, not a ton of grinning going on. This, to me, looks like someone said to him, hey, there's a competition for Best Smile. And he, being the intensely competitive closer he is, was like, I got this. And then made this face. Slightly terrifying, but also maybe full of suppressed joy, even just the joy of beating the competition silly. I don't know. In any case, lots of teeth there for Chapman, and a rare, big, broad smile. And those, my friends, are your photos of this week. So I will leave you with this quote from the great Cole Porter from his musical Anything Goes, one of my favorites, which seems appropriate to today's content. It's friendship, just a perfect blendship. And really, what is more fun than watching these guys play baseball and be friends? To me, that is the perfect blend, and it makes me extremely joyful to see. There's one more week and one day until opening day, and I absolutely cannot wait. But wait we shall. We'll chat more in the meantime. But until then, go Yanks.